Hello, I'm State Senator Susan Moran. On today's episode of In Your Corner, we'll be exploring why Plymouth is the place to be this summer with an abundance of historical, recreational, and artistic opportunities. Plymouth has so much more to offer than even long-term residents might think. In this segment, I'll be joined by Lea Filson of See Plymouth, as well as Kevin Shanley of the Spire Center for the Performing Arts, to learn about the latest happenings as well as how travel and tourism contribute to the growth of our community on a larger scale. I want to welcome both of you. I'm so excited for this segment. Lea, would you mind if we started with you? And if you could tell us a little bit about what is See Plymouth and what are the kinds of things that you're doing for the community?
See Plymouth is a tourism organization, and I work with very, very talented people who really do understand tourism. It really is an economic development driver. A lot of people don't realize that, but we work very hard every day to promote the area. We promote both the town as well as the county and all of its tourism assets. And we just simply tell people what a wonderful place this is, and you don't have to talk about perceptions. It is a wonderful place.
You know, that's so well put, because I think people that live here really appreciate the eclectic amount of things that are both historical importance for the arts. Talk about economic drivers. When you come to see Plymouth Rock, you're also probably going to go to a restaurant, or maybe, from Kevin's perspective, maybe you're going to see some performing arts. Could you talk a little bit, Kevin, about the importance of your job and your just representing the arts in the community?
Sure, absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. The Spire Center is a 265-seat performing arts venue right in downtown Plymouth, 25.5 Court Street. It was purpose-built, the building was purpose-built in 1886 as a Methodist church, and later converted in 2014 as the Spire Center. So we have a historic building. The building was purchased through community preservation funds through the town of Plymouth. And we are now the stewards of an incredible building with lots of incredible things going on inside every single day. So we're a bustling community of arts and culture right in downtown Plymouth.
Oh my gosh, and so well located. The COVID, sort of pandemic and changes. Yeah. Can you tell me a little bit about what's happening right now? Because I'm sure that you've had to pivot and then pivot back.
Sure, absolutely. Like everyone in the pandemic, we are trucking right along with incredible shows, 125 shows a year, and then the pandemic happened. We thought it was only going to be a few weeks, and it ended up being almost 2 years. But like every business and every nonprofit organization, we had to learn to adapt and change. And so we started offering live streaming of concerts, bringing folks into the performance venue so we could have a full, musicians into the performance venue so we could have a fully produced artistic experience that people could then watch from their living room in the safety of their home. To then transition back in the last number of months to fully back into full production like we were right before the pandemic. So we're super excited to see what else is coming here in 2022.
Oh my gosh, well that's incredible. And I know, Lea, you have been such a partner with so many tourism businesses and just crossing, from anywhere from restaurants to performance venues. And so you were right in the kind of center of the storm of everyone pivoting, and I wonder how that sort of changed what you do and for your staff.
Well, I won't say it wasn't tough. That whole pandemic scene for everybody was awful, but tourism took the biggest hit of anyone. More of our tourism business took huge hits, and we were very lucky in Plymouth that we didn't lose very many people at all. A lot of other communities did. But it's because of talents like Kevin's that we are able to really have something to promote. So it was very, very important to keep that going. So basically, we just simply pivoted by starting to advertise and promote to hyper-local things because people weren't traveling very far. And we do lots and lots of data and research, and we look at statistics every day to know which way to turn. And we can turn at a moment's notice so that we promote the area as best we can.
Well, that's great leadership on your part. I have to say, I remember attending a Chamber of Commerce event where you were really in a central role and showcasing the data points that even other businesses might use. And I'm wondering what kind of relationships, if you have a couple of examples that engendered about not only the way local people might enjoy more of Plymouth, but also when we take a big example, the Plymouth 400. I'd like to hear both of your reviews of how that came out and not only sort of the gear up, but what it means now. Lea first.
Well, we've had a lot of partnerships and we continue to. We love the Chamber. We love doing partnerships with them. We do very different things that are both very important to the community. But for instance, the morale was really low for a good year or two with all of the businesses. One of the things that we did was to partner with all the various businesses that wanted to join in, and we did billboards up and down the East Coast talking about what a wonderful place Plymouth was. And I think it did more for those who saw themselves on that billboard than it did even for those who said, oh yeah, we got to drive to Plymouth and see what's going on there. So partnerships like that. And then of course we have the history. This is where the Mayflower landed. This is where Patuxent was long before that. And so it gives us a chance to talk about the history truly of everything from immigration of the English colonists to the Portuguese who followed, to others that followed that. We have nearly every diverse ethnic group in our area. And of course the Irish. We have more Irish in Plymouth County, more Irish Americans in Plymouth County than anywhere else in the U.S. So
And I was at the presentation which talked about sort of a walking tour of elements of that history.
it's the brand new South Shore Irish Heritage Tour, something definitely to check into.
Absolutely. And Kevin, how about from your perspective, just looking at liaison and relationships with other tourism-related businesses and how right now you're all really on such a springboard for this summertime coming up.
Absolutely. Well, as Lea said, we could not have done it without our other community partners. Lee's point about the billboard, certainly, and it did a lot for folks, even seeing themselves, oh, there's our billboard on 95 South. That was certainly an exciting thing, and we were so grateful to be part of that. And partners all across, on the public side, on the private side, in the nonprofit world, we can't do it without our other community partners. And from See Plymouth promoting the Spire Center, whether it's in-person performances or live streams, as well as our other friends in the community. It's incredible to see everybody working together and be able to launch into summer of 2022.
I'm so impressed with the way both of you took the challenge, dove in, and it really energized. And I'm sure that sort of trickled down to your staff and also the people that you serve. And Kevin, in your work, do you have in mind some examples of some artists that maybe you were, or productions that you really were able to lift up during this time?
Absolutely, absolutely. So everybody in the artist community was so supportive of being able to get out there and really continue to push along and not let the shutdown really, bring down any moods or feelings, if you will. Of course, everybody was kind of run down by the pandemic. Who wasn't? But we had our first ever, what we called the Inspirella Festival, which was a fully live streamed festival from the Spire Center.
What a name.
You know, it took us a lot of time, and we settled on that. We wanted something that was inspiring, but also kind of told our story as well. We had Grace Kelly, a jazz musician, used to be on late night shows, and now she's doing her own touring circuit, who's been a massive supporter of the Spire Center all the way through. We saw an incredible number of viewers that came on, and with our partnership with PAC TV, it was a truly successful event.
You know, and I have to just take a second and talk about how crucial PAC TV has been even more recently, because this is where people find their local news. This is where people, you know, really were in their living rooms and had that human contact. So I have to thank PAC TV, just divert for a second here. And then I want to turn back to Lea and talk a minute about the fact that we were able to secure $90,000 to support the organization through the fiscal year 23 state budget. And I wanted to see if you can describe to me how that financial support gets used and how it benefits the community of tourism, as many tentacles as it has, on an ongoing basis.
Well, first let me thank you, because due to your efforts, that has happened every year, and you've been able to bring more to help promote tourism. And as much as we do promote tourism, if you compare us to other states, we're near the very bottom in terms of monies that are given to promote a state. So that's something, thanks to you, we're able to have those extra dollars. This particular $90,000 that you put in for is actually for our Waterfront Visitor Center. We outgrew it probably about 12 years ago.
Wow.
Or longer.
Wow.
And it's so small. And for instance, the first week of this season, Memorial Day weekend, we had over 1,600 people that came in and out of that Waterfront Visitor Center. And it's basically one room that you can barely turn around in. So that money is going to help us, along with money from the Visitor Services Board and the town of Plymouth, to expand it and make it larger. So it's going to make a huge difference for our visitors that come.
Well, and it's such a, you know, incredible venue right there. You're literally in the center of history and waterfront beauty and small businesses. What would you say, Kevin, about the place of Plymouth that really helps artists connect, and what would you say is from what you've heard or just over the past several years and before, can you describe for people that might not know, that might be considering visiting, what is the special nature of Plymouth?
Plymouth, to your point, is such a special environment and such a special place. Only a handful of miles from Boston, handful of miles from the bridges going down to the Cape. So centrally located. We love being part of such a diverse community. Gives us an opportunity to bring in additional shows and something that might be someone might be interested in one and not in another, and we can really kind of run the gamut of options and possibilities. And in having the visitor center right downtown, as well as right on the main thoroughfare, as well as down by the waterfront, has been incredible. And to Lee's point, we've been continuing to supply our Spire Center magazines, our brochures, our everything down there. It's a bustling place, and we're so glad to be a part of it.
Wow. Well, you know, as you think about where we are right now, give us a secret preview. We won't tell anyone of what you might be considering for the future.
Well, we got some really exciting things on the docket. People drive up and down Court Street and always say to us, you know, the Spire's looking a little ragged. Well, we have something to do about it through partnerships, public, and with your support, Senator, and state representative support. It has been incredible to secure additional funding through the Mass Cultural Council, through the Cultural Facilities Fund, as well as economic foundation monies. We're going to be 100% updating and revamping the outside of our building. New roof, new spire facade, new siding, new paint. It's going to look like it did back in the 1800s. So we're super excited. In addition to all of our exciting programming that we have running throughout the year.
That is huge. And, through the great tradition of former Senate President Murray, of course, who's right here and who's been an incredible leader in that regard, the whole delegation really works well together. Democrat, Kathy Lenatra, our terrific representative, Republican, our terrific representative, Matt Muratori. And we all understand how important it is for us to join forces for Plymouth to try to, bring funds in so that really it ultimately keeps taxes low for families and individuals, because we use what I like to describe as OPM, which is other people's money that's coming, from other communities, people stopping and visiting, and there's such a network of from one person to the next, where this is something, Lee, you do tremendously well, where you have a tell one person and they tell more people. What sort of liaisoning do you do with other state tourism representatives? And I know we just did an incredible grant information meeting, and thank you. We just in another wonderful building. Why don't you just talk a little bit about that for anyone that didn't see it yet?
Well, our office represents a regional tourism council for Plymouth County. The state has divided the state into 16 different sections, and we're one of the 16 that represent Plymouth County. And all of those, and we call the regional tourism councils RTCs. All of the RTCs work very closely together to promote the state as a whole, and then to show the specific important things about each of our areas. And in our area, Plymouth County as well as the town of Plymouth is the center of tourism. Both are just magical. We have so much to go. And to Kevin's point, we have a lot of people that say they come to Plymouth. Artists tell us every day Plymouth is their muse, because it is so magical that it really does push them to do their best. But on the tourism side, we try to remind all of our local friends that are out there that locals are tourists too. And not only can they enjoy during the off season all the wonderful things we have done for businesses, but we've given them a wonderful infrastructure. We've given them trendy restaurants, attractions that are just beyond fun. So we don't really have to spread too far, at least locally, because all of our local friends do that for us through social media and other means.
That's terrific. One of the things I've always wanted to ask people that are in the know and work in arts, culture, tourism all the time, what would be your secret tour that you haven't had a chance to do yet, but that sort of a place or places that you haven't quite seen yet, or something that you might suggest in as far as a family comes to visit for one day? What are the important things to kind of be, what are the must-dos? Kevin first.
Sure.
Spotlight on the edge.
Absolutely. The wonderful restaurants up and down Cord Street, Main Street, and throughout the entire community. I've always gone to Plymouth Patuxent as a kid, and now I want to explore that as an adult. The exciting happenings down at the waterfront, taking a cruise, out and exploring the harbor, out and exploring a little bit further outside, a fishing trip, those type of exciting things, and of course the dozens of restaurants, the new restaurants that came in after COVID. I need to get down and sit down with each and every one of them. So I'm excited to do that this summer.
That's incredible. You're right. There have been, it keeps changing. So there's always new things. Lee, I've given you a second to think.
Goodness. I'll just say this. All roads lead to the Rock. Plymouth Rock is our international brand. If you had to check mark the things that are best for tourism, you need an international brand. Not many other places have that, but we have Plymouth Rock. You also need to have all of the wonderful sports, water sports, and the ocean, that checks off. You know, trendy restaurants checks off. We have it all here. So I think that what I would do is I would start by going to the Rock. And we're doing a funny campaign very soon called Talk to the Rock, where we show people talking to the Rock, because they do that all the time, you know. So at any rate, I would start with the Rock. I would talk to the Rock and then head out.
Well, you know, and you're right, that's sort of where it all began. And, you know, I often look at having, again, come out of the pandemic, and it's been so challenging, and yet, you know, we've gotten, you know, some efficiencies, some new perspectives. How would you look at sort of benefits to the next generation? In other words, if you were to arrive at the Rock with a gaggle of kids, what are the kinds of things that you would show children, and from their eyes, what would you like them to learn about Plymouth and Plymouth County?
Oh, absolutely. Certainly the diverse culture that is Plymouth and is our community. Everything from the Rock up to Plymouth Patuxent, up to even some of our other cultural and historical destinations. We are such a hub of excitement and diversity and exciting things happening 24/7 that I think the pandemic gave us an opportunity to pause and really value what we have around us.
That's absolutely right. It's so important to pass along to the next generation.
Absolutely.
Lea.
And I would say that the past informs the present. And so our past is just undeniably foundational in this country's history. So I would really want to draw them in, to learn the stories, to see how things grew, to see how we're one of the first immigrant cities with all types and kinds of immigrants, and then all of the fun stories that go with that. And I just think that I would really want to start out with the history and then go from there into everything else that's really fun.
I love that. And, you know, just as to kind of wrap up a little bit, you mentioned all of the things that you can do right from Plymouth. So I started long ago, we'll just say, as the chair of the tourism committee for the Chamber of Commerce in Falmouth when I ran, there weren't Airbnbs then, it was B&B, doing the breakfast, all of that, and people would come and say, what should we do, what should we see? And I'm wondering, so, you know, my district right now has 3 towns on each side of the canal, and soon to be 4 towns on each side of the canal, the Plymouth Barnstable. So if you look at Plymouth, as you both mentioned, as a center of places, if you have a longer stay coming up, which we do expect soon in the summer, where would you go drivably? If you come and stay in Plymouth, what are the kinds of things you'd like to hit in the area? Lea, I'm going to put you on the spot
That's
first.
an easy one for me, and Falmouth is a good example. Falmouth on the Green, we've got 3 historic houses there. Literally, Plymouth is in the center. You can stay there, and whether you go toward Boston, you head for the Adams, the presidential houses, that sort of thing. You go to the west and you see a cranberry tour. If you go to the south, you see all of the wonderful historic things that fed off of Plymouth. Because even when Plymouth started back in 1620, it was within a year or two that they started spreading out and founding other towns and other churches and such. There is so much to do in Plymouth County. You should really plan to stay at least 10 days, at least.
I love that, and I think that is so well done. I'm going to pitch to you, what if, and I agree, but what if you just have, you know, a extended weekend, for example? What are the high points that should definitely be seen?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. Start in Plymouth, stay in Plymouth, talk to the Rock, and head south. Then go over the bridge, stop into Sandwich, go down maybe into Hyannis and have lunch in Hyannis Harbor. Take 28 back towards Falmouth and see those exciting downtown items. Go towards Woods Hole, see the hub of oceanographic research, and then travel up and and hit some of those destinations out in Carver for cranberry bog tours, and then circle up towards up into Kingston and towards Duxbury area, get a couple of oysters, then come back and finish your day with the Rock again. So
Wow. I love that you went to the oysters, because it's not only, the deliciousness of it, it's so good for our water and the creativity, and all of the harbors have their distinct taste, sort of like wine. This has been such an informative and kind of fun segment, because it's just, one of my central drives for economic development, of course, is tourism. I want to thank so much Lea, Kevin, for just taking the time to sit down with me. I'm already planning my next night out on the town. I encourage everyone watching to visit both See Plymouth and the Spire's websites for a full calendar of events and details on activities in and around Plymouth. As always, my office remains an open resource for anyone who may need assistance, and we can be reached, if you have a pen, by phone at 617-722-1330, or by emailing me, susan.moran@masenate.gov. Thank you all for watching today. I'm Senator Moran, and as always, I'm in your corner.